Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone and thank everyone for coming to this very important meeting of the City Council as we do the people's work. Council members, at this time, would you please stand for the invocation, which will be given by Reverend John Cole II, pastor of Centenary United Methodist Church, and then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Cole, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I didn't get the memo, the pink shirt memo. I would have worn my pink shirt if I knew. I bring you greetings from Centenary United Methodist Church and all the good and faithful members of the church. Centenary has been a part of our community for over 200 years, 1784, and has been continually serving our community and the Lord for all that time. The ladies asked me, Mayor, to tell you that and to invite you to our upcoming bazaar, which is on Saturday. Okay. And we use all of the proceeds from that bazaar to support local ministries and missions. We've supported the Her Shelter in the past. We've supported the Wesley Center, volunteers, Portsmouth Volunteers for the Homeless, Park, that's Portsmouth Area Resource Coalition. The Kairos Prison Ministry, we've supported that. Churchland Elementary School, we have supported that. Simonsdale Elementary School, and that's not all. So I invite the City Council and all of Portsmouth to come out on this Saturday between 9 and 2 o'clock to our church bazaar at 3312 Cedar Lane in Churchland, Portsmouth, Virginia.
Well done, sir.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity to come together to do the business of the city of Portsmouth. We thank you, Lord, for giving us a safe place to meet and to convene, and that we have a place to govern ourselves with our leaders and our elected officials. We pray, Lord, for the people that work and find their homes in Portsmouth. We ask, Lord, that you might prosper them. Lord, give them the prosperity that will enable them to overcome any of the burdens of our lives together. For our public servants, Lord, we pray for them. For first responders and teachers, we ask your blessing upon them. For our police, Lord, we ask that you bless them with wisdom and courage, Lord. We ask that you give them good wisdom to make good decisions in difficult situations. And for our teachers, Lord, we lift them up and give you thanks for their commitment to the young people in our community. Lord, we pray for the political process. Lord, you know we're in a political season now, and we ask, Lord, that you be with all those who have committed to running for office. Lord, it is a big endeavor, and it takes a lot of energy, and we're thankful for people who will step up and give it a try, regardless of the outcome. We pray, Lord, for all those who report on these meetings, for our media. We ask, Lord, that you give them good wisdom and courage, that they might be able to report on things fairly and justly and focus on everybody in the same way. We pray for our mayor and our city council, even, Lord, in this political season. Indwell them with a spirit of community and service, that they may be a source of unity for our communities and not division. Whatever business there is tonight, Lord, we ask that you prosper it, so both our government leaders and those who are governed might benefit from its outcome. Again, Lord, we thank you for this evening and for this time together. Let us remember, O Lord, that life is short and we have only so much time to gladden the hearts of those who travel this road with us. So help us all to remember to be swift to love, make haste to be kind, and be slow to anger. And have us all to rest assured that you, O Lord, are infinitely more concerned with the promise of our future than any mistakes of our past. All these things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reverend Cole, thank you very much. See you Saturday. Members of the City Council, if you would, please indicate your presence electronically.
7 members of the City Council are present.
Members of the City Council, you have before your consideration the minutes of a call meeting of October the 11th, 2016, and a regular meeting of October the 11th, 2016. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Move adoption.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. The minutes are adopted 7-0.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
No, I'll do it. You want to read that first, or? Okay, let's do this first. We've got a couple of announcements that we want to do prior to starting the meeting. And the first up, I'm going to ask our police chief if she would join us here at the lectern. We just, this weekend, had a very good banquet, our top cop award for the region, and our top cop here in the city of Portsmouth. And so at this time, we're going to ask Chief Tanya Chapman if she would do the honors.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice
Yes,
Mayor,
ma'am.
City Council members. Can Detective Beth Shelkey come forward, please? It is indeed an honor to present to you Portsmouth Top Cop for 2015. Detective Beth Shelkey is an exceptional detective. She has been with a Portsmouth police officer for 14 years and is currently assigned to the Special Investigations Division, where she is also a collateral duty officer handling ABC investigations for the city of Portsmouth. Detective Shelkey has received numerous awards in the last 14 years, clearly showing that she has a passion for her job and truly cares about her community. Detective Shelkey is a hard-working individual and clearly dedicated to her job and the citizens of the city. She goes above and beyond the call of duty, whether during regular working hours or when she is called on a moment's notice. One such example occurred on the evening of December the 27th, 2015. The Special Investigations Unit received a call for assistance from the Uniform Patrol Division due to heavy calls for service following several shootings throughout the city. Detective Shelkey responded and got into a police car with Sergeant McGee to handle calls. Shortly thereafter, a call for a commercial robbery was received at 5701 Portsmouth Boulevard. The description of the suspects was broadcast on the radio, and another officer broadcast what they thought matched the description of the shooting the night before. They responded to the area, and Detective Shelkey observed a vehicle that was operating with its high beams on and took notice that the passenger appeared to be changing clothes. Detective Shelkey was able to see the suspect and identified that matched the description that was aired on the radio. Sergeant McGee attempted to initiate a traffic stop on the vehicle, and a pursuit ensued. After a few minutes, the suspects bailed out the vehicle, initiating a short foot pursuit. The responding units had already began to set up a perimeter, and K-9 was able to locate the driver of the vehicle, who was taken into custody by Detective Shelkey. Other officers were also able to apprehend the passenger. The 2 suspects that were identified as gang members by the Gang Suppression Unit were also determined to be suspects in numerous shootings around or throughout the Hampton Roads area. These cases have been adopted by the FBI in partnership with our Gang Suppression Unit. One of the suspects has even been classified by the FBI as a serial killer. Without Detective Shelkey volunteering to assist when asked, her keen eye for suspicious activity and her attention to detail, these dangerous subjects would have undoubtedly continued their crime spree not only in the city of Portsmouth, but throughout the Hampton Roads region. For this, Detective Beth Shelkey was named Portsmouth's Top Cop for 2015.
Now, Detective, we're going to give you a moment to just say a few words. I know I noticed you didn't do that the other night, and you're ready to take your seat now, but
Yes, sir.
thank you for your 14 years, and please, anything you'd like to add?
I appreciate your support, and I look forward to the years I have left to serve the citizens of Portsmouth. Thank
All
you.
right, well done. Excellent, well done. Thank you, Chief. Okay, also at this time, we've got a special guest in the audience. The Deputy Governor from the country of Caricho? Caricho, I'm sorry. Now, the country of Caricho, we were sister cities quite a few years ago, and we also have one of the commissioners that were part of that sister city commission, Mr. Bernard Rotiche. If you would please join me up here, please come to the lectern, and we want to make sure we do this in grand fashion. It isn't every day that someone is perusing through our neighborhood from another country. And so you want to do the honors of introducing her and bringing her up. Sir, Bernard.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, is that, can anybody hear me? Okay, good. Yeah. Honorable Mayor, thank you for the opportunity. I know it was a very short notice to kind of ask you to receive this guest who was on a flyby here. Deborah, Madam Clerk, thank you again to Deputy Mayor, Ms. Simmons. Thank you very much also for stepping in and giving us an opportunity to again bring this guest here. She's let me start with the history. We had a sister city relationship with the city of the town of Kericho in Kenya for quite some time, and I served as a commissioner in that as a commissioner for 3 consecutive terms, and we did quite a few good things. We have some very proud things that we accomplished at that time, and unfortunately when we stepped out, the commission kind of went into a little hibernation, dormancy, and the country of Kenya at the time also went through some changes. They promulgated a constitution that changed the country into a system very much like ours. It's got now almost like a federal system of government with counties now that are governed by governors, and those are elected capacities. So what they do is they have now total responsibility for their destinies as counties. And when they were dusting some of the papers that were there, they uncovered the MOU that was there, and they called me back to say, what is going on here? I said, well, so that's what I was trying to bring up, the opportunity for us to see if we can revive that, because they've been empowered with their economic destinies. And she's en route here, and she'll tell you a little bit about what her mission is. But it is a pleasure for me to introduce a good friend of mine. Actually, we went to the same school, graduated from the same school here. So it was quite an easy thing for me to step up again and take the opportunity to welcome her to the city of Portsmouth as a compatriot and as an alum. Her Excellency Susan Kekwai, it's an honor to have you in this city, wonderful city I call home.
Thank you very much, Bernard. Thank you very much, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and all the citizens of Portsmouth. Good evening. First and foremost, I bring greetings from His Excellency, the Governor of Kericho County, Professor Paul Kiprono Chepkwony, and all the citizens of Kericho County. I'm very, very honored to be here this evening, Mayor, to be part of rekindling what was there before we became a county. As Bernard has said, we looked through the archives. The former mayor is now a member of parliament in the same region, and he said, you must follow up what was there before. So I'm here in the United States on an economic mission. I'll be going to Culpeper tomorrow to meet with the mayor and the deputy mayor, and also to Washington, D.C. on the Power Africa program for Obama. And so I thought that it would be fit to pass through here tonight. Thank you for accepting to see us with such short notice. Kericho County, we take pride. In fact, our value proposition is all you can imagine. So we hope that once we open up the MOU, you all can come and visit us. We are the largest tea growing area. We also produce the highest quality of coffee. We actually contribute 5% of the GDP through the tea. So the highest amount of tea is grown in Kericho. It's a little bit cold, maybe the same temperature as it is here. Rains 270 days of the year, but green, green, green. So thank you so much. We look forward to engagements. I know that there are several issues that were raised on the side of education, culture, arts, and so on and so forth. So I look forward to our partnerships. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. We've got a small token of our appreciation for you thinking of the beautiful city of Portsmouth here, where we say Portsmouth is for people, all kinds of people. And so we're grateful. And good luck on your trade mission. Good luck in Culpeper. It's no Portsmouth, but it'll do. But but also good luck in Washington with the president.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes. Oh my. Uh-oh.
Likewise, we'd like to present something little indigenous to Kenya, indigenous to our region. So we'd like you to...
Is this my president's birth certificate? We've been looking for that, right? This isn't a good time for jokes, but go ahead. He's joking on it, by the way, so I can't, yeah.
And he lives only 2 hours away from...
He only lived 2 hours away, that's right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And I see you have a couple other bags.
Yes, this is for your deputy mayor.
All right. Vice Mayor, would you please come down? That's right.
This is a Maasai guy.
Maasai?
Yes.
Okay.
The Maasai.
Okay.
The Maasai Mara is now the eighth wonder of the world. The wildebeest crosses.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Very good. Thank you.
thank you so much. This is a little something from the people of Kericho. Thank you.
Right. Very good. Thank you very much. Yes.
And for Deborah.
Madam Clerk. Okay. She makes it all happen. Right. That's right. That's right. Oh.
So thank you all very much for your time.
All right.
And I wish you a very good meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you. And safe travels. All right. Let's give her another round of applause. Oh, let's get this. Oh, you have this. Thank you. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Good night, sir. Thank you. Okay, well done. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council rules require a limit of up to 3 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 3 minutes, you will see a green light. 2 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 3 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments. Public hearing, 16-338. Public hearing on a proposed adoption of a resolution to request the General Assembly to amend the present city charter repealing Chapter 11 Civil Service Commission, Sections 11.01-11.10. And members of council, I have speakers. Our first speaker is Ms. Donna Sy.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. Principles of Liberty 7 says, the proper role of government is to protect equal rights, not provide equal things. Repealing the Civil Service Commission is to institute the law of the jungle. Might makes right. There won't be any civil government in Portsmouth. You think crime is bad now? Wait till you repeal this chapter. The Civil Service Commissioners make rules and regulations consistent with the law, with examinations, appointments, promotions, transfers, reinstatements, demotions, suspensions, and discharges. They make rules and regulations and amendments that are available for free public distribution. All tests are practical and consist of subjects which will fairly determine the capacity of persons examined to perform duties of the position to which appointment is to be made, and may include tests of physical fitness and of manual skill. From my assessment, the city doesn't want to fund this commission. This is why they want to repeal the Civil Service Commission. It is all about money. The funds for this commission will come out of general fund, which is 1/4 of 1% of the total payroll of the police and firemen. The City Council is to provide a suitable and convenient room that is heated and lighted and supplied with office supplies and equipment to carry on the business of the Commission. The city doesn't want to do this, so the city wants to repeal Chapter 11 of the Code. Donna and others do not want to repeal this chapter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mark Godaldik-Yutrovsky.
Good evening, council and fellow citizens. In reading through the provisions of this chapter of the charter, it is clear that the establishment of the Civil Service Commission was part of a movement known as the Progressive Movement, which arose in the late 19th and early 20th century. The objective of the Progressive Movement was to reform government, to end corruption, to end political patronage and cronyism. And so commissions were established. The language of the charter references political activity in the partisan vein and prohibits it at all levels. Now, the difference between a police force and a sheriff's department in the Commonwealth of Virginia is that the sheriff's department, and I'm not pointing to any particular one, this is across the board, the sheriff's department serves as a one-man army, as one man's private army. All employees serve at the will of the sheriff, and if you do not carry out the sheriff's orders, you're gone. Police departments with civil service commissions have a regulatory framework that controls the hiring and firing of employees, promotions, and disciplinary actions. To me, there are some issues in the current framing. It looks as though it probably hasn't, the language looks as though it hasn't changed much since the early 20th century. And there are some things that are outmoded. but I believe the solution is not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Reform the language, take out the inefficiencies, increase the size of the board to 5 or 7 members, and ensure that the reporting that this commission is supposed to do, I've never heard a report from the commission, even though it's provided for, ensure that the reporting occurs, but do not eliminate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, is that it?
Yes, sir. We're going to open it for public hearing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item 16-338. At this time, if there is anyone in the audience that would like to speak but did not have an opportunity to register, please come forward, give your name and address, and you will have up to 3 minutes to speak on item 16-338. Members of City Council, this public hearing is closed. Unfinished business, 16-323, Code Amendment and Use Permits. Item A, ordinance granting the request of the City of Portsmouth for approval of text amendments to Chapter 14.1 Flood Protection to reflect modifications due to departmental configuration changes. No regulatory changes are proposed. CA 1602, first reading vote, 5-0 approved. Vision principle, a robust and prospering economy. Electronic roll call, and I have a registered speaker, Ms. Donna Sy.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. Principles of Liberty 19 says, only limited and carefully defined powers should be delegated to government, all the others being retained in the people. In 16-323A is an example of expansion of the city's power by amending the code of the city by changing the city department configuration. It doesn't say change the name, it says configuration. That means reshape the department. Here's the cover information. The boundaries of the special flood hazard area districts on the flood insurance rate map is a part of an ordinance and which shall be kept on file at the City of Portsmouth Floodplain Administrator's Office, the new name of the Department of Neighborhood Advancement. All the wording for Department of Neighborhood Advancement will be changed to Floodplain Administrator's Office. How has the city's organizational structure been created through the input of the citizens to this new office designation? Under the section for administration, there is a paragraph describing the designation of a floodplain administrator. In reality, the name will become the City of Portsmouth Environmental Manager or other designee of the city manager will be appointed to administer and implement these regulations and will be referred to as a floodplain administrator. The floodplain administrator may do the work themselves in the absence of a designated floodplain administrator. The duties are conducted by the city manager or his or her designee. Delegate duties and responsibility to qualified technical personnel, etc. Enter a written agreement with another community or private sector to administer specific provisions of these regulations. The community has responsibilities that are required by the National Flood Insurance Program that is in the Code of Federal Regulations. How has the city's organizational structure been created through the input of the citizens to do this new office designation? The city manager is now going to be an environmental manager to administer and implement these regulations of the floodplain administrator. Where is the job description for this new position? This is expanding the power of government and limiting the powers of the people. We, the people, do not give our consent for this change. And here's the organizational chart of the city. Where is that going to fit in without the citizens' consent?
Thank you.
Okay. We have no additional speakers on this item. We're in need of a motion. We have a motion and a second, and we're voting electronically.
All right, we're voting electronically. Let's go.
This item is adopted 7-0. Item B, resolution granting the request of Dan Griffin, architect, on behalf of Lethal Holding Corporation for a use permit to convert the second through seventh floors of 505 Washington Street into 27 apartments for residents 55 and older. UP 16-10, first reading vote 5-0. Vision principles, sustainable neighborhoods, and enhanced quality of life. Electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you're voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0. Item C, resolution granting the request of Ingenium Enterprises on behalf of Walmart Real Estate Business Trust for a use permit for a Panda Express fast casual restaurant with drive-through at 1098 Frederick Boulevard, UP 1611, first reading vote 5-0 approved. Vision principle, a robust and prospering economy. Electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Adoption.
We have a motion and a second, and you're voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0. City Manager's Report 16-339. Adoption of an ordinance to appropriate $284,922 of unused FY 2016 funding to the FY 2017 Portsmouth Public Schools General Fund budget and to authorize the transfer of $479,162 within the FY 2017 PPS General Fund budget from the Administration, Attendance, and Health, Pupil Transportation, Operations and Maintenance, and Technology classifications to the Instruction and Debt and Fund transfer classifications, Vision principles, enhanced quality of life, and lifelong learning community. Electronic roll call, and I have a registered speaker, Ms. Donna Sy.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. 16-339 is a regulation to appropriate $284,922 of unused 2015-16 money and transfer it to 2016-17 schools general fund budget. With the $285,000 and the additional of $194,240 transfer, the total amount will be $479,162 from the Administration, Attendance, and Health, Pupil Transportation, Operation and Maintenance, and Technology Department, and put this money into the Instruction and Debt category. The school administration wants to realign its 2016-17 budget to read, upgrade on the information technology infrastructure in all elementary schools, and conjunction with the Federal Communication Commission's E-rate discount program. The school has been approved to be funded 80%, but the school is requesting the remaining 20%. Replace food service equipment, pay bonuses. Something is dreadfully wrong with the budgeting abilities of this school administration. On August the 23rd, 2016, City Council approved a bond debt of $6,143,000 for the school's capital improvement program. There was no list of what this money was to be used for. Now this. We need an audit of the school's finances. Someone is not able to keep track of the money coming in to the school division. We the people do not give our consent for wasting taxpayers' hard-earned money. No wonder there are so much discipline issues in the school division. The adults have boundary issues and the inability to say no.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Members of council, we have no additional speakers. We're in need of a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0. 16-340, Adoption of an ordinance accepting Four for Life program grant funds in the amount of $75,742.16 from the Virginia Department of Health Office of Emergency Medical Services and appropriating said funds in the FY 2017 Grants Fund for use by the Department of Fire, Rescue, and Emergency Services. Vision Principle, Enhanced Quality of Life, electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Adoption. Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 6-0. 16-341, adoption of an ordinance to amend Chapter 9, City Cemeteries, and 25 General Park Regulations of the Code of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia by amending Section 9.56 and Section 25-108 pertaining to the presence of dogs in cemeteries and parks. Vision Principle, Enhanced Quality of Life, electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
For approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you're voting electronically.
Okay.
This item is adopted 6-0. 16-342, adoption of an ordinance to amend Chapter 30 of the Code of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia pertaining to the Portsmouth Supplemental Retirement System and Fire and Police Retirement System. Vision Principles, Efficient Service Delivery, electronic roll call, and I have a registered speaker, Mr. Mark Adoldik-Utrovsky.
What is this? This is what we just discussed? Oh, right.
Good evening, council and fellow citizens. I have two objections to the changes proposed with regard to this item. I believe that the presence of two ex officio members, the chief financial officer and the human resources director as voting members on this board is not what would be desired. Am I on the wrong item?
No, it's fine.
Could I hear it again?
You're fine. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Their presence as voting members on this board is not appropriate. They should be advisory, but they are members of city staff, and this ought to be an independent body consisting of citizens and members of the retiree class. The other objection, in terms of the management of the funds, you're looking at me as though I'm talking about.
I'm actually looking past you.
Okay, all right. The other piece is the 10% restriction on the amount of cash that can be in the funds. The proposal is to strike that out and have no restriction on the amount of cash in the funds. That to me seems imprudent. If you are having performance issues right now because the funds are too conservatively invested and there can be any amount of cash without limitation in the funds, then your performance will be even less. As somebody who lives from retirement investments, I try to maintain as high a level of investment as possible and a minimal amount of cash. So there ought to be a ceiling on the amount of cash. I don't know that 10% necessarily is it, 20% might be too high, but you need to have some kind of metric that restricts how much cash can be held. There is a tendency, when the economy is looking bad, for inexperienced people to dump things into cash. That will hurt the fund.
Thank you, sir. And Madam Manager, can you speak to his first point? He raised a valid issue, and I thought it was a recommendation of council at the last meeting to not have those ex officio members as voting members. Did we not make that correction?
Hold on, Mayor, I'm going to ask our CFO and our liaison to the retirement board to speak, please.
The speaker brings up a valid
Yes,
point.
you actually did, and I apologize, that was a mistake that I did not catch. We did not correct that
Okay.
after the council meeting. The last 10 meetings, there's been only 6 meetings that we've had a quorum in the retirement board, and that's why the recommendation had been
Understood.
proposed. After the council meeting, we made recommendations. I forgot to take that one out. We do have to bring the retirement code back to you. We did not get the IRS recommendations, so if it pleases the council, can we table this to the next
That'll be
council
fine.
meeting and vote on it when it's taken off? Because I do
Absolutely.
apologize, that should not
That's
have been
okay.
on there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I thought we had covered that ground. Thank you very much. All right, Madam Manager. All right, Madam Clerk, let's defer that item.
Move to defer.
We have a motion and a second to defer this item to the next meeting, which will be on November 22nd.
Second.
This item has been deferred by a vote of 7-0. 16-343, adoption of an ordinance to accept a primary extension program grant in the amount of $178,543 from the Virginia Department of Transportation and to appropriate said funds in the FY 2017 General Fund for use by the Engineering Department in connection with the paving of Airline Boulevard from the city line with Chesapeake to Kings Grant Drive. Vision principles, sustainable neighborhoods, and a robust and prosperous economy. Electronic roll call, and I have registered speakers. Ms. Donna Sy.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. 16-343 is a regulation to accept a grant for $178,543 from the Virginia Department of Transportation to be used by the Engineering Department for the paving of Airline Boulevard from the city line with Chesapeake to Kingsgate Drive. Kingsgate Drive is in Chesapeake near Military Highway. Why is this being done? We need a transportation commission. We have needed one for a long time. The regional transportation meetings have no representation by the citizens. Look who voted for the tolls on that regional commission. Look at who did not represent the citizens at the General Assembly. Look at what's happening now with the governor getting involved. We had a no tolls committee, but they were not successful to protect the people. Our elected sure hasn't. The city is now helping Chesapeake with the primary extension program grant. What has become of our government of the people, by the people, and for the people? We're the elected, whose just powers are derived from the people. I don't give my powers to any elected sitting up on this council. All I witness are votes without the people's consent. To me, this is tyranny. We need explanation on what things mean before regulations are passed. Hopefully, this tyranny will stop in January 2017.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Mark Godalda-Pietrowski. I'm sorry.
That's for the next
That's
item.
the next item. I'm sorry, sir.
You good?
Okay. Members of council, we have no additional speakers on this item.
For approval.
We have a motion and a second, and you're voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0. 16-344, adoption of resolutions approving the 2017 state legislative package and the 2017 federal legislative package. Vision principles, innovations and change, a robust and prosperous economy, leading maritime community, lifelong learning community, sustainable neighborhoods, enhanced quality of life, efficient service delivery, proud military history, pride of past, core values. And we have a registered speaker, Mr. Mark Godaldi-Kichowski.
A, B, and C, right?
Council and fellow citizens, I want to speak to Part B, the federal legislation, and I want to ask you to do something out of the ordinary. I did not make a submission in the time frame for citizen requests, but recent events have brought to light something that I think warrants extraordinary measures. I attended a Civic League meeting, the Old Truxton Civic League last week, and as the mayor referenced in the work session, there is one particular street in that community that was very hard hit by the effects of Hurricane Matthew. There is one block on Pennock Street and one side of the street where the topography is such that they're sort of in a valley and receive far more runoff than you would expect. There were homes in that block that had over 4 feet of water inside of them in the course of the storm. And so the day after the meeting, when I visited that street, I could see the work that was going on to recover from this. Now, one of the things that the city can do, you can't terraform that block, but what you can do is request that the National Flood Insurance Program allow homeowners to make monthly payments of their flood insurance premiums. If somebody has a mortgage, that will be done. It will be escrowed on a month-by-month basis. But if you own your home, or if you are paying your insurance and your taxes yourself, the federal government requires full payment annually. Now, some of these premiums in flood zones, as this neighborhood is, those payments, in many cases, exceed the amount of property taxes that are assessed on those homes. We need for people to have flood insurance. We need for it to be manageable. So I would ask you to add a resolution to your federal packet petitioning Congress to change the flood insurance program provision so people can pay those premiums on a monthly basis, making it more affordable for more people to carry flood insurance. Because when those houses are damaged to where they're irreparable, we take a loss too in terms of our tax base.
Okay.
Thank you for the consideration.
Thank you very much. Point well taken. Mr. Cherry.
Thank you, Mayor. Me and Mr. Godaldi have agreed on two things tonight.
That's right. This is.
Yeah, he makes a great point, and I think if possible, we should ask the manager if she would look into that, and if there's consensus up here, if it's possible that we relay that to our delegation as the package is built.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree.
Any objection? Okay, very good. Thank you. Well done. All right, Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mayor. It'll probably snow tonight because I'm going to agree with the gentleman also, not either. But there are other areas in the city that have been similarly impacted, as he explained. I know at 213, 211 Liverpool, and also Queen Street. They have a similar situation where it's a valley or a swell. The net effect is that they have extraordinary flooding, not only during a hurricane situation, but even a nor'easter. So it's a terrible situation. Nobody's fault, just the topography being as it is. They do need some relief that legislation will do it, I'm in support of it.
All right, thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Item A, adoption of a resolution endorsing the city's 2017 General Assembly legislative package. Electronic roll call.
Move adoption.
We have a motion and a second. You'll be voting electronically.
Very good.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vice Mayor?
Yes, sir, was that a motion as amended?
No, it was A. The other one was for B, wasn't it? For the
This is
federal
only A?
piece.
Madam Clerk, it's only A?
It was B.
B.
It was item B. But what you're doing is having the manager to review it and come back to you with legislation
To
to
add
forward
to it, okay.
as a
Thank you.
separate item to
Just
the
wanna be
General
sure what I'm
Assembly.
voting on.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am. It doesn't affect what's in front of you.
Okay.
This item is adopted 7-0. Item B, adoption of a resolution endorsing the city's 2017 federal legislative package for the 115th Congress. Electronic roll call.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you're voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0. Item C, adoption of a resolution requesting the General Assembly of Virginia to amend the charter of the City of Portsmouth, Virginia. Electronic roll call.
Move adoption. Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 6-1. New business, 16-345, boards and commissions. Councilman Edmonds.
No report at this time, thank you.
Thank you, sir. 16-346, items submitted by council members. Adoption of a resolution to reaffirm and adopt Resolution R 16-26, authorizing the execution of agreements with Southeastern Public Service Authority for the use and support of a regional solid waste disposal system and the development of a Portsmouth transfer station. Electronic roll call, and I have registered speakers. Mr. Mark Godaldik-Yatrovsky.
Council and fellow citizens, once again, I rise to express my dissatisfaction with the way the conversation has gone and the way events have evolved in terms of making our plans for refuse disposal post-2018. I am completely dissatisfied with a procurement ordinance that does not reveal reasons for rejection of bids that have been submitted to the city. I believe that you all have been remiss in not trying to address the language of that ordinance so that that doesn't happen in the future. I believe from information that Councilmember Meeks has provided us, my suspicion that we could make out better in terms of the rates the people of the city pay for refuse disposal is not being served by the agreement that you are undertaking. And apparently there were alternatives that would have lowered that rate beyond what the new contract does. So once again, I rise to oppose this resolution and to ask you to remediate the procurement ordinance so that the public can be informed as to why a bid that appears to be in the public interest is deemed not in the public interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Donna Sy.
My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. 16-346 is a regulation to adopt Resolution R 16-26 to authorize the signed agreement with the Southeastern Public Service Authority for the use and support of a regional solid waste disposal system and develop a transfer station on city-owned property. The city will not be getting any revenue from this property. This will add a further burden of taxes to the citizens who are trying to make a living and pay the tolls and pay for the waste management fees too. There was no answer to the inquiry that Councilman Whitaker requested. There is no transparency with this initiative. 2 properties have been taken off the real estate tax rolls, and recently 2 properties were bought by the city at auction. Every vote that is taken by this council has not been with any citizens' consent. The regional government has taken away the citizens' right and duty to self-govern. For example, look at the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization. Here is the Citizens Transportation Advisory Commission. All right, I don't want. It's a rubber stamp for decisions already made. All right, on the this chart, the SIPSA is right down here on this planning commission. This chart is incomplete because the director has blown me off and won't meet with me to obtain the committees on this chart. By the way, there's no way for citizens to have a voice in their decision-making. We need to stay with Wheelabrator. We can save taxpayers money by stopping the hemorrhage of our money to other cities. We, the people, do not give our consent to sign this contract with SIPSA.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Attorney?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members in ongoing discussions with SIPSA Council, they have requested that the council reaffirm its position in a positive motion to adopt or approve to meet the requirements of SIPSA's legal opinion. That's why this matter is back in front of you today.
And when I questioned this a month ago to you, why wasn't it addressed?
Mayor, at that time, SIPSA Council had not made an issue of it. When speaking with council since our meeting a month ago, they asked that the council address it in a positive motion to confirm its position.
All right, thank you. Mr. Meeks?
Thank you.
Cut your mic on.
Have we located a location that we're going to put this transfer? Have we deemed a location?
No, we have not.
What was that? Madam Manager?
Wait to the mayor.
Yes, ma'am, you may speak. Madam.
No, sir, we have not.
Have we came to a couple of different locations maybe that we could let the public know where we're looking at?
I cannot, at this time off the top of my head, name the 7 locations of which the studies that we're doing and looking at, but there are 7.
Okay. And I still, I mean, I cannot believe I'm agreeing with Donna Sy here, but I have to agree with Donna Sy here. But I do want to tell you one thing she said earlier. Kings Gate is 1 block from City Park Avenue, so it's all that paving is in Portsmouth. I just want to correct that. You know, I don't want the viewers at home thinking we're paving Chesapeake with City of Portsmouth dollars. So, all right.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Whitaker?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to be voting against this because I still feel that we do not have complete information on a matter that's going to have a significant impact on the citizens for years to come regarding trash disposal. Also, I do know that we have had some discussions about some of the possible locations. I believe those things will be heard in a public hearing, which from all indications, not going to be pleased with that also about those locations, particularly dealing with environmental issues. So I'm going to be voting against this until we can get better information on this matter regarding the impact that we may have with other options of disposing of the trash.
All right. Mr. Cherry?
Yes, Mayor, I just want to make a motion for approval.
Denial?
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 4-3.
Okay, other items submitted by council. Let me, first of all, I think that Reverend Cole alluded to he didn't get the memo today when he saw us all in pink. We also have some other members here that are in pink. The ladies from Delta Sigma Theta, would you please stand? I think they got the memo. And one of those ladies happened to be our very own Paige Cherry's wife, Yvette. Good to see you. We all aware that this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Is there someone would like to say something on behalf of Breast Cancer Awareness?
Yeah.
Please. Y'all look great, by the way.
Thank you, Mayor. Greetings, Mayor, City Council members. We are the members of the Portsmouth Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and we are here to represent for October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And one of the things that we want to bring up is that Portsmouth is one of the highest cities in our area for breast cancer fatalities and diagnosis. So we want to make sure that the citizens of Portsmouth are aware that the members of Delta Sigma Theta are concerned about these statistics and that we feel that they apply to your vision principle of enhanced quality of life. Absolutely. And we hope that the city of Portsmouth will continue to do whatever is necessary to ensure that the people of Portsmouth have the resources that they need for early detection and curing breast cancer or any form of cancer in the area. We thank you for having us this evening, and we look forward to continuing to support the city of Portsmouth in all of its endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let me mention, I've got two quick items. One, I mentioned in the work session, as well as you've probably seen all over the news, the huge decision that was made last Thursday by the regional board, which I sit on, for transportation. It was authorizing $8.3 billion and about 9 various projects that will help unlock the gridlock here in Hampton Roads. This was a major decision. It was a unanimous vote by all of the mayors, and it's going to do great work here in this region. We have been working on this for the last 4.5 years. We're prioritizing transportation projects in this region, things that have regional significance, projects that will not only compete, because we don't want to say compete with the Midtown and Downtown tunnel, but to relieve the congestion that exists in all of our cities. And so I want to thank all of the mayors and the General Assembly members that played a role in not only creating this organization, but allowing us here locally to make this decision that's going to enhance the transportation feasibilities in years to come. You see over in 64, the widening of 64 was our first decision. I don't know how many of you travel on the peninsula, but from the peninsula to Richmond, we're widening 64 to make sure that we not only have no longer gridlock at the, I think it stops at the Fort Eustis exit. I don't know how many of you travel there and you get to the Fort Eustis exit and you're at a standstill and traffic moves through and you don't know why. But again, that's a huge project. So I want to thank everyone for voting, and I want to thank Linda Johnson. She was the chair of the Transportation Planning Organization. She's the mayor of Suffolk and the chair of the Hampton Roads Accountability Commission, which is the new commission that we serve on that allocates funding for that. It's chaired by Will Sessoms, the mayor of Virginia Beach. And then finally, the governor mentioned it yesterday when we was here for the toll relief announcement, but there were several cities that wanted other alternatives, and we were not able to get that. And the fact that we had a couple of mayors that didn't get what they wanted, but understood that it was about the region. And all of this is what we do, all 1.7 million people here. He recognized Mayor Alexander. As you all know, Norfolk wanted a different alternative, and we were approached at our last council meeting about an alternative that would have put traffic on 164 that we did not want. So we were very successful in that. So again, that was a huge announcement and a huge vote, and it's going to pay huge dividends to Hampton Roads. Vice Mayor Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a busy time, and I would like to tag on to the Delta's comment about breast cancer and why this council has supported wearing these shirts for the last 5 or 6 years. These shirts, you too can have one. They come from the Portsmouth Fire Department Credit Union. They are sold at the credit union offices on Cedar Lane in Churchland by the firehouse there, and they say, mine's kind of old now, but they have the Susan Komen logo, and they say Fire Department Supporter on them now. And they come in a variety of styles and colors and prices, but I would encourage all citizens to get one and help the fire department raise more funds to attack breast cancer. We're coming up on Halloween weekend. There is a load of stuff to do, particularly with your children. On Friday night in Old Town is the Ghost Walk, sponsored by the Old Town Civic League. On Friday night also at Safety Town on Deep Creek Boulevard from 5 to 7, there is Trick or Treat at our adorable Safety Town. Bring for free, bring your children and grandparents. On Saturday, we have Museum Madness at the Children's Museum beginning at 10 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Kids can come with costumes and have activities all day. At 5 o'clock on High Street will be closed to vehicular traffic in front of the Children's Museum for tots, cops, engines, and deputies, which is basically trick-or-treat and activities with the police officers, the firefighters, and the deputies, and they'll be handing out candy. We hope the children will come in their costumes and have activities. On Sunday, out at Hoffler Creek, there is even more Halloween festivities from 1 to 4 at Hoffler Creek in Churchland, and of course, Monday is actually Halloween. So there's lots to do. We encourage you to do it all. Before we meet again, there will be First Friday all over again in November. And of course, a reminder that on the second Tuesday in November, which we would normally be in this chamber for a meeting, we will not be because it is Election Day. And of course, I want to encourage everyone to vote, from president right on down to your local city government officials.
Is that president right, or what did you say?
Stop. I would also like to add an item to the agenda to remove the $1,500 fine rule from the City Council Rules of Order.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to add an item to your agenda. You'll be voting electronically. This item has been denied by a vote of 3-4.
All right, Dr. Whitaker.
Yes, I have a question for Dr. Patton. Where are we on the living wage issue? I know there was an update given, I believe, back in August.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, our last presentation on the living wage, which was given by Mrs. Gooden, we were looking at 2 or 3 possibilities. One, looking at a group of employees who fall within a certain salary range that are impacted by what is defined as below what the minimum wage or living wage is. The other, we were going to, we indicated we would make a recommendation as we go through the budget process to actually present scenarios on how we think we could address with different groups as it pertains first with city employees.
Okay.
So that's where we are, and in fact, we have a meeting tomorrow, and it'll be one of our items that we will discuss as we continue to work toward the 2018 budget.
Is there discussion expanding that beyond city employees and the ramifications of moving it into the private sector?
No, our discussion right now is is actually looking at as it impacts municipal government. To move it into the private sector, as we have discussed, it would have to be a legislative piece, because as it pertains to businesses, and Mr. Ashworth is shaking his head, as it pertains to businesses and corporations, I think Mr. Ashworth has reported during the time we were making our presentation that that would have to go to the General Assembly for the elected leadership to put any kind of requirements on businesses or corporations within our city.
So that would require public hearings, and so can we, I believe the mayor mentioned at our last meeting about setting up a process so that we can put things on the calendar for when they should be discussed ahead of time, so that when we get to the legislative package time of the year, we can already have that out of the way.
Right. Our goal, Dr. Whitaker, is to start those discussions in June of 2017.
Okay.
And that will give us more than enough time to bring forward several of the items that required a public hearing, which was discussed 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I mentioned that also because as we recognize the breast cancer issue and all cancers, we realize that many of these diseases are due to stress that comes as a result, too, of poverty conditions. And beyond just making symbolic gestures, I think this council and also legislative bodies, both local, state, we can do more by putting in policy, such as living wages to help some of these families who are under tremendous stress, access to health care issues that raises. And so I think that we really need to have a serious look at this so that we can move beyond having symbolic gestures and actually putting in policies that will impact on the quality of life of people.
I totally agree, Dr. Whitaker, and as we are discussing, members of council, as we move forward and look at some of these kinds of issues that are impacting city employees, we'll have to make some decisions on whether we lift these who are below, and I think if my memory serves me correct, in one category, we may have about 219 current employees who are right at that level, which would be considered below the living wage. And so we are working it, and we will be coming back as we begin the 2018 budget process for council to be a part of some real discussions on how we want to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Whitaker. Okay, and before we get to our non-agenda speakers, let me also say that Thursday is nationally Read for the Record Day in our country, and this year, the book that's being read to children all over the United States is The Bear Ate Your Sandwich. And so for all of the community leaders and elected officials and just volunteers in general who will be going throughout the city of Portsmouth, throughout, well, most of you will be here at the city of Portsmouth, but this will be going on nationwide. And it is once again, trying to break the record that we set last year. And so thank you for your interest and involvement in this. I will be at Lakeview Elementary Thursday at 10 o'clock to Mrs. Ferris's classroom, room 4. And so I'll rush up on, where are you going? Brighton. Where are you going, Paige? Last year you were?
Brighton.
You're going to Brighton as well, okay. Anybody else heading out? All right, so stay tuned for that. We'll set the record again this year. And they're in for a treat to hear us talk about the bear and his sandwich. Okay, with that, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. 16-347, report on pending items. Ms. Bernadette Hogg.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Bernadette Hogg, City Ombudsman, and would like to give you the report on the non-agenda speakers and pending items for the council meeting on October 11th, 2016. There were 4 non-agenda speakers. 1 speaker required action by staff. Sheila Joseph advised City Council about drainage issues on Grand Street. The Director of Public Works and 2 superintendents went to Ms. Joseph's home on October 20th to discuss her concerns. It was determined that a neighbor had blocked the drainage ditch. Public Works cleared and cleaned the ditch. And I'd like to give you an update on the people who came to talk about flooding in Prentice Park. City staff, which included Deputy City Manager Jones, the Director of Public Utilities, the City Engineer, and the City Ombudsman, met with the 4 residents who came to council on September 27th to express their concerns about flooding in Prentice Park. The residents were provided with an update on the upcoming public utilities project. The citizens indicated that they recalled a contractor on another project in their neighborhood telling them about the removal of the drains. Staff assured the residents that the city does not remove storm drains. Staff will continue to communicate with the residents about upcoming projects in their neighborhood. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Now, as far as the follow-up with the drainage being clogged up, that we follow up with the neighbor and making sure that all that was done well. All right, thank you. Very good. Madam Clerk?
16-348, non-agenda speakers. Our first speaker is Mr. Barry Randall. And he's followed by Mr. Clyde Toller.
Good evening, members of City Council. Barry Randall, the Brighton section of Portsmouth. I'm kind of everywhere right now because of the last conversation that Dr. Whitaker just had. But I want to deal with this. I was here at the last City Council meeting, and Mr. Mayor, I asked you in a very calm and respectful manner to go to Swanson Home and talk with the people out there so that you can stop your Facebook thugs from saying that we're trying to make this political and all of these things. You wouldn't need secondhand information because you could actually be there to talk with them. Yesterday at the governor's press release, I even walked up to you twice and asked you, who are you getting to help the citizens out of Swanson Home? At the last council meeting, I believe the interim director was here and was letting you all know that basically everything was okay. By way of hands, how many of y'all have used your heat this week at all or turned your heat on? I know I've used my heat. Those people out there, about 30 of them that the director reported to the media yesterday, are still without heat and hot water. And yet they still have to send their children. Mark Whitaker, I've never even really addressed you for the last 6 months, but I want you to know personally from me, I'm very disgusted with you because you just sat up here and talked with the city manager in reference to people in poverty. You know, you sit up on that dais and you talk that black talk and hypnotize the black community as if you are really for the average black people. You also said at the last 2 council meetings that I talked, basically questioned the integrity of 2 members that belong to your church that are on the PRHA board. When I asked you, did you ask them to fire Mr. Short? You and I both know on several occasions you've asked me to come to your church, and you and I sat in the fellowship hall, and you and I have talked about what I should come down here and talk to these white people about. And for you to be the liaison to the PRHA board, and you haven't been down there to see about those people. Before I came here tonight, I was late getting here. I went to 94, 96, 98 houses on Merrimack Drive. I went on houses 80 through 100 on Swanson Parkway. All of them still do not have heat or hot water for their children, but they have to send their children to school every single day. When are you or Kenny Wright going to go out there and see for yourself? I'm asking this council to disband the PRHA board because for 2 reasons. 1, they're incompetent, and 2, because Mark Whitaker is running it, as you all can see. Those people need help as this very moment.
Good night, Mr. Randall. Vice Mayor Simmons.
Yes, sir. My question is really not to Pastor Randall. It's really to the manager, if I may. I know PRHA operates differently than a traditional apartment complex, but
it troubles me just here still that there, if he's right, if 30 homes don't have hot water still, please tell me what the story is.
Why aren't they in the hotel?
Am I on?
Madam Manager, you can speak.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council, I sent to you late yesterday evening the latest update, which was received by me through the building officials team who has been working and assigned to work in the re-inspecting of the Swanson Home residences that were affected by Hurricane Matthew. They started there, this was the revisit because they had visited before and given specific letter-written directions as to what the Public Housing Authority needed to do as it pertains to their residences. The report that I shared with you is that the majority of the units now have working hot water units. As of last night's report, there were approximately 10 to 15. ServPro has, as of last night, had completed sanitizing the affected units and anticipated having all cleaned and completed before the end of last evening, which would have been by 6 o'clock yesterday. ServPro was to send the building official a letter of statement identifying the homes that had been sanitized and cleaned, which is required by law. The building official will receive a detailed report from PRHA, which is today, identifying the homes requiring continued service to the hot water units and an anticipated completion date. I do not have that report, which probably came in late today, but I will assure you that I will seek it tonight and get something out to you from Doug Smith, our building official.
Isn't it against the law to have people living in a place without hot water?
That question was asked of Dr. Chang, who is the city's health director. Dr. Chang indicated that there is no law which says that people have to have hot water, but it's a law that governs the running of water. With every household having water, and him being advised that there were some residents who were heating their water, there is no law to close down a residence because it has no hot water. But if it had no running water, the law which governs building inspectors, they can close it down. So I did seek that information.
And we have no recourse to PRHA to ask them to force them?
We are doing that.
Them something?
Let me
We are
interject.
doing that.
I met today with the executive director of PRHA as well as the chair of the board, and the number that the gentleman that was up here just left is correct. There's 30 homes that are still without heat and hot water, and that as of tonight, if they did not get the elements fixed in those hot water tanks to have hot water, they were going to offer each one of those residents an opportunity to go to a hotel. Okay, that was this morning at a retreat that I went to.
You think you could have
and
told us that
Elizabeth,
before?
You're asking the question, you're out here, you got your media and your grandstanding. I'm trying to tell you what, I'm trying to tell you what I asked this morning what the status was, and that's what the status they gave me. I have no idea if they've executed that yet because we've been in here. And so, once we leave this meeting. Right. Well, she did. She went through great detail talking about the components that the parts that they were trying to get and the uniqueness of those parts. And we all shared, yeah, that's great, but we've got to do something with the folks. And she said, no, we are, and here's the plan. So, Madam Manager, out of the 30, I don't know how many tonight were there, and I think she even talked about getting a record that if someone was not interested in moving out, that they would sign saying they were offered to go to a hotel. So, and the reason why I did not, because I didn't know if they had executed that or not, or what the status of the units were. So, again, if you don't know the information, I would not get up here and say something. I'm only repeating this because of what was just mentioned here. And I heard the manager said 10 homes, and I think she mentioned that there was some incorrect data that was passed on yesterday to the city, and she made the correction today. And so I wanted to make that correction because it is 30. And that, so hopefully, if those units were not fixed today, that those families have been offered an opportunity to go to a hotel. And then once they did leave, they were going to make the complete renovation before they allowed them to come back. Again, she mentioned that today. I don't know where they are with that. And so with the media and all those folks here, I'd like to have concrete information on just what they did before we put that out. But that was the discussion.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I would also like to say that the building official is the official that has oversight over this project. That I, as the city manager, or no elected official supersedes the decision and the determination of the building inspector.
That's correct.
And I have made that clear when people have called and asked questions. I cannot talk about that. It's the building official that has charge of this property.
That's right. And he is authorized by the state, the governor, to do his job. And so with that, thank you. Mr. Moody. So hopefully tonight, when we leave out of this meeting, we could probably get an update from PRHA. Madam Manager, if you can try to make that contact now and see where we're at with moving those families over to a hotel. Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, it's been 2.5 weeks, and we're still talking about people just getting hot water on, still fighting mold. And the question was asked earlier about the competency of the board. The board is not competent. And Vice Mayor, myself, and a few others feel that way. Nothing's been done about it. I put this decision on their doorstep. Yeah, the health director, his job is to determine the legality of things. There's also a law of humanity and decency. I invite anybody that thinks, okay, it's not against the law to go without hot water. I invite you to go without hot water and see how you like it.
That's right.
You wouldn't like it. So those folks over there have endured 2.5 weeks of inhumane living. And I haven't heard any PRHA board members speak up about it. In fact, it's a known fact, Dr. Patton, that the assistant director actually dragged her feet on even implementing what the health director had said needed to be done. That was really in defiance of the law. So I think we need a postmortem on this to make sure when the next storm comes along that we're not talking 2.5 weeks later about people still without water, still without sanitary living conditions. So if it's the consensus of this council, I want to see a follow-up done and see where this thing fell through the cracks.
Yeah, I do not disagree at all with what you just said, Mr. Moody, and I think those points are all valid. And there clearly needs to be a briefing as to what took place and how and why we got to where we are. And I would like to think that the Housing Authority is doing that very same thing.
I wouldn't bet on it.
And that was the reason why I asked for an update today, and that was the status I was given. Dr. Whitaker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say that it's interesting now about all of this focus on the PRHA board. I think well-minded and well-thinking people understand that there were some significant changes that have been made economically within this city, breaking up a 70-year contract, the minority contracting discussion, that has turned the tide of the economics in this city to a more level playing field. I'm surprised about this discussion because when we had tenants who died of carbon monoxide poisoning, there wasn't a call for the board of PRHA to be removed. When the tenant was stabbed to death in the Effingham Plaza, there were no calls for the board to be removed. When the child was found with lead poisoning, there was no call by this council for removal of boards. That is, when tenants were affected, This council did not raise its voice as we hear tonight. But when the economics are impacted and we're turning the tide, that's when you raise your voice. I just want to make it clear that we are not ashamed of what we have done in trying to level this playing field here in Portsmouth. We understood when we took it on, we knew there would be personal attacks. We knew that there would be all type of allegations. That has not deterred my spirit, nor those of us who stand for social justice. And Malcolm X was correct. Whenever a black man attempts to do what is right, you will always find someone finding another black man to try to pull him down.
All right, Mr. Moody.
You know, along with that, what my colleague said there, the Housing Authority advertised a retreat / training session today out at Tidewater Community College. I had some extra time. I thought I would drop in. What I was met by a TV reporter who was refused entrance into the locked room. There was no notice on the door that it was a closed meeting. I was refused initially entrance into the room as a council member. She finally, the director, interim director, finally waved me in. I decided since I wasn't wanted, I'd get a cup of coffee and leave. But transparency is something that's missing with that board. And you're the liaison to the board. You've taken a very active role beyond that of the normal liaison. So I put the lack of transparency on your shoulders as well as the board members, and that's why I say they need to be fired. They're not doing the people's business. They're not doing the residents' business, and they shouldn't be serving. And we're not going to take care of it during this time, but I guarantee you it'll be on the top of the priority list come January if things go right. So.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moody. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Mr. Clyde Toller, and he's followed by Mr. Tony Goodwin.
Good evening, all elected officials and all citizens of Portsmouth. Clyde Toller, Power View. I'm glad to see you all representing council. Of course, I ain't got breast cancer, but I got a chest. But I'm 3 times cancer patient. And because you got cancer don't mean you're going to die. You're going to die anyway because I'm still here and I just turned 90 Sunday. So it's good to be here. I'm glad to see all of you sitting up there. And Ms. Simmons, you can come down here and join me because, you know, I'm always profiling. Look at me, don't I look good? But I'm all dressed in black tonight, not for mourning. You remember a long time ago when you dressed in black, you had a black armband on you, you were going to somebody's funeral, they were stretched out. But anyway, I'm going to go back to this council. Yeah, Councilor Edmond, I know you're looking at me and me. Thank you for serving. I ain't going to say nothing bad. Thank you for serving on the council. Although it's been the worst council that it's been, but thank you for serving. But anyway, I have seen in this last 6 years, I saw 2 people get kicked out of council. I saw one was told go sit down and shut up, and then she replied back. The mayor replied back, said, did she just tell me to shut up? But anyway, I seen that. I seen you been disrespectful to one another. I seen you call people out here idiots and stupid and all that. And you have attacked one another, even to one another's family. I have seen a councilman come up here and call another councilman a racist, but now he's on council, but he did it and he got away with it. Mayor, you done hit the gavel on him, but he performed. But anyway, all these things have happened. But look at what's happening now. I'm going to still be here grinning the next 4 years, but like I said before, you ain't going to be here. Because I know everybody know about JR. You remember JR that was played on TV in Texas, something like that?
Dallas.
Well, Dallas. Well, we got a JR now coming in here, gonna be a Portsmouth. JR, John Rowe. So let's all come out and do what we got to do. Look, let's love one another. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. I don't like all of you, but I tell you what, I love you. Because God told me to love you, and I'm going to love you. Have a nice night.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. Good night, sir.
Tony Goodwin is followed by Garland Alexander.
He's a little Dallas.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, City Manager, City Attorney. My name is Tony Goodwin. I reside in the neighborhood of Parkview here in the downtown sector. Tonight, I think it's pretty obvious that history is a big part of our heritage, as well as is a big part of us. We're obviously, as I might have stated somewhere on Facebook this past week, the sun is set on this town for over almost 94,000 times. And that is going to be our, continuing that effort. And history happens every day, every minute. Time waits for no one, but we have to realize where we've been to know where we're going, which is most important. I find it interesting we can harp about the fact that we've got the oldest continuous naval hospital in the country, the first dry dock, maybe the first planned shopping center. Some would dispute that. Maybe where containerized cargo was first introduced at PMT. But history happens just as recent as the last couple of weeks as well. And we have to remember this. And this is coming directly to you because I find it very discerning and also very discouraging as a business person in this city to understand that he's been slandered or a victim of defamation of character. And this is coming directly to you, Mayor. Mm-hmm. It is coming directly to you. I do a lot of work in this city. We're fully vested. My wife, myself, my child goes to public school in the city. And we do everything we can, bending over backwards every day to try to make this city a place to be for everyone. But to have you come in front of my business, right on High Street, talk to my best friend and tell him that I'm a bad guy, that I'm a good old boy, that I'm basically somebody that takes advantage of people is beyond acceptable. And I do not take this lightly. Slander is a very bad thing, especially when you try to do as much as you do in this city. So take this under consideration. It's history. I'm willing to turn the page, but I do not accept it as a form of a mayor of our city to defame people just for the personal recognition that you're seeking out for.
Good night, sir. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Garland Alexander, and he's followed by Mr. Robert Turner.
Good evening. My name is Garland Alexander. I live at 2913 Tanbark Lane. I'm here tonight to discuss this letter I received from Elizabeth Gooden about the HRA fund for city retirees over 65 will be reduced to zero in 5 years. Libby Gooden stated in previous work sessions that the city and taxpayers would save $1.3 million when we were put out of the health insurance, and a net savings of $728,000. The OPEB number for us being in the health system was $230 million. When we were put out, it went down to $27 million. And the debt payment on that money would be $14 million a year on $230 million. The retirees were led to believe that the HRA money would be continued. None of us, especially with pre-existing conditions, would have went for this had we known what we know now. Now that we are not covered by the city's insurance, with many having pre-existing conditions. We can't get other insurance at a reasonable rate. This comes to us being, this comes across to us as a bait and switch. There's a lot of senior citizens on low income, we talked about low income, and retirees who really need this money. And I asked you to reinstate to the $1,400 in the calendar year 2017. Now, it was talked about the OPEB number being affected by the HRA money. It's not affected. From what I understand, this is a one-time funding each year. I mean, you can say you can do a lot of smoke and mirrors. It's not affected OPEB number as long as you don't fund in the future. That's what OPEB is all about. So I'm asking for this council to reconsider what you've done by reducing this. There's a lot of people out there that really going to be hurt by this. Thank you. Have any questions?
Thank you, sir. Good night. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Robert Turner is followed by Ms. Melissa Peel.
Mr. Moody, did you have a question or comment?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank
Would you like the previous speaker to come back up, or Mr. Turner, if you would let him?
He can. I don't know if Mr. Alexander was in the work session, but we had a discussion on it. There is a difference of opinion. I think what you shared with us is forgotten, that there was a savings to the taxpayers on you making that move. I know initially they tried to say it was the city tried to say it was a pilot program, and I think months ago, maybe last year, you showed us documentation where a pilot program was never mentioned. And after the switch was done, you discovered that a lot of people were taking hits because they weren't covered on different aspects of their health. So consequently, a lot of people, and these people don't make a lot of money, are taking drastic hits on rising healthcare costs and also costs from being dropped from the program that they were on, which was the city's program. So I would hope that this council will sleep on it, pray about it, and come back. We have another meeting coming up first part of November, and I would hope that we would come back and do the right thing about people that put in a lot of years, a lot of sacrifices for the city, and went into this program thinking that they were going to be part of a win-win situation. Well, the city got the win, but y'all, so far, some of you, not all of you, are getting a little bit of the shaft. So we got to correct it, in my opinion.
Mayor,
Thank you. Sir, that wasn't a question, Mr. Alexander. I didn't hear a question. I think he made a comment. Thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, City Manager, you all know who I am, so I'll get right to the point. After watching the work sessions, I see some of you can't wait to reduce the benefit we get towards our insurance costs. Mr. Cherry has stated it will be reduced. Mr. Whitaker, you stated at a previous meeting you were in favor of reducing it, but not in favor of eliminating it altogether. I was surprised to get a letter from the city last week saying it would be reduced each year, starting next year, and ending completely at the end of 2021. I've attended or watched each work session, but have yet to see a vote on this. I didn't know the city manager could defund something that you approved. Being as I like to work with numbers, I asked you to look at the handout that I've given you. You have gone from 200 million liability to 27 or 28 by dropping us from the insurance plan. But I keep hearing there's been little savings. Somebody's bad at math. The 5-year plan equals the amount you paid this year for 2 years and 3 months. it would be the same amount of money that you've got in the 5-year plan, would it fund it for 2 years and 3 months. You will see the city cost, if you look at the bottom of the second page, you will see what you're spending for people that retired and have not reached 65 to go on to Medicare. You have to earmark $13,000 per person. And you can look up above and see other numbers. All those numbers are correct, by the way. They're taken straight from City Finance Department. What we're asking is a little more than 10% of what you have to earmark. Many of our retirees retired 25 to 35 years ago when salary was a fraction of what they are today. Plus the most medical issues, plus they can't look for a better policy because of existing medical issues. When somebody comes to work at 19 and retires at 39 or 40, which I've seen sitting visiting the retirement board meetings, you're going to pay them $60,000 before they reach 65, age of 65, toward their hospitalization. $60,000. Now, I don't begrudge them getting the money, don't get me wrong, but I want you to compare that to the $1,400 you're giving us, and you want to take that. Being as the red light hadn't come on, I was going to end it. But one more thing I'd like to bring up was the end of the year bonus that we've said we were going to hear about. I asked Ms. Pettis about it a month and a half ago, and she said she was real close to the end to where she could give y'all that report. And I haven't heard anything, and we'd like to hear something about that as well.
Okay, we can follow up on that piece. Thank you, sir. Mr. Cherry?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. You don't need to stay. I'm just going to correct something. You know, I'm pretty clear on what I say. I'm from North Carolina. I talk fast and I do stutter a little bit, but I didn't say it will be reduced. I gave my opinion on the process that this council approved the last meeting, that we should continue it. That is what I said. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Listen to your own report.
And but before you start, I just want to make sure we're clear. Last meeting, Mr. Moody, you were the one that made this recommendation, and I agreed and the rest of the council agreed to do what we agreed to do tonight. And you're saying you have changed your mind and now you want the council to reconsider. Is that correct? Is that what the discussion
No, it's
in that
not.
work session? All right, can you explain that?
No, it's not, Mayor. Last work session, it was brought to council that we were going to do away with it. And the first step in reducing it was to the tune of about 57%. In other words, it was going to go to 1,400. They were going to cut it to 800 and some change. And I made that as a defensive move because I didn't think a meat cleaver should be taken to the $1,400 right out of the gate. So that's why I mentioned that.
Okay, but then that moved it to 25% reduction.
That moved it to
instead of
25%.
Right.
But once again, I went back and looked at some letters that the retirees had given me to remind me that they've been told it was a pilot program when actually the documentation they have said it wasn't a pilot program. And also the figures that they just given us tonight saying that the city saved quite a bit of money by them leaving the city's system and going it alone. Now, to offset that, they were promised the $1,400. And in the ensuing year, medical costs have gone up. Some people, situations weren't accepted in the system they had to go to. So it has not been a win-win situation that was advertised, that they were sold on. In essence, to a large degree, they were sold a bill of goods, saying this will be good for the city, but this is going to be great for y'all. Well, the greatness hadn't come through yet. In fact, we're trying to reduce that part of it. So that's why I haven't changed my mind. I just bought some time.
Okay.
Mayor, your observation is right. Your observation is absolutely right. We agreed to that process last meeting, the 20%, and now all of a sudden there's some people who have second thoughts. They got some phone calls. It's election in 2 weeks. Makes a lot of difference in people's processes. So we need to just let Ms. Peel speak.
Right, okay, all right, thank you with that. Mr. Meeks wanted to say something. No, and I didn't do that to be funny. I just wanted to make sure we were clear. Last week, it was suggested by Mr. Moody, just like he said, because of the steep cut, that we thought the 25% was in order reduction, and we all agreed to do that. And so that was the only reason I brought that up. That wasn't a slight. All right, Mr. Meeks.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing I do remember when John brought this to us, the city was in
John Rowe, JR, you just talking about? Okay.
When he was city manager,
Okay.
and he brought this up, that we were going to have a savings to the city. I think it was $250,000. I think we're going to get a savings overall, $250,000. And now, even though we got the savings, it's like we're cutting even more into their money. I'm
Did
not
we get
running
that
for
savings?
What was that?
Did we get that savings? I don't think any of our numbers have shown.
No, I'm asking.
Oh.
You know, I was going to ask the manager, where do we end up with that savings?
Yeah.
You know?
Madam Manager, or maybe your
Mayor.
CFO?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, you're asking us a question about the that would have been not in the 2017 budget, but the 2015, 2016 budget. We cannot answer that right off the cuff. We can come back to you, or I can get you a response to you, but we cannot answer that right off the cuff. In fact, we were not here, but we can seek and provide that information.
But the savings piece, did we ever realize that savings? We have not?
We have presented that. Mrs.
Ms. Kelly?
Kelly, would you like to come up? Because we...
Okay, good. We're going to get to you in a minute. You just stand right there. You're on hot standby. Yes, ma'am.
For OPEB, there's two different parts of it. Is the actual cost that you have to shell out, and then there's also the liability. And so when we say we go from 200 million to 27 million, that is not a budget savings, obviously.
Right.
As the city manager has pointed out, I don't remember right off the bat the exact amount of savings that we had in our budget for this, but it's an overall cost. I'm sorry.
Give me 1 second. My understanding was, with them staying on our policy, it would have been higher. So if they went out and got a additional policy, that would have saved us money because we projected the cost of the health insurance to even be higher.
Definitely.
Correct?
Definitely. Most localities, most organizations post-65 are not on the organization's health care anymore.
Right. And I think the projection they gave us was a savings of maybe $250,000 because they wouldn't stay on our policy.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And
it was a good business practice to do, and
Right.
it typically
and I think we
does
all
not.
agreed that it wasn't going to be forever and forever and ever. But with the rise of the health care, and I'm not running for nothing. I have 2 meetings.
And you're done?
I'm done. And I will still see Paige, and I'll wave, and Yvette, and Kenny. But, you know, that was the decision we made as a council, was to ask them to go out and get a policy. And now that we didn't maybe save exact dollars, but because they wasn't on our policy, we did save some projective cost. Maybe it wasn't 250, maybe it was 50, but it was still a savings to the city. Now we done asked them to go out, and now we're cutting. All right. I just think we should take in consideration. Everybody watches the news. They know the health insurance next year is going to rise anywhere from 2% to 25%. What are you reading? You know, for the health. I just think, you know, where we are now. I know we're pushing it off to the next meeting, but we really need to take that into consideration.
Well, my understanding is that the city offered the $1,400 if you took a specific policy.
Right.
It was up to the retiree to determine what policy they wanted, and if you wanted this particular policy, you got the $1,400. I don't know all of the dollar amount savings. I just can't put my mind on it right now, but it's taken in the overall context of the benefits that we provide retirees.
If you go back, I mean, manager, I know you're swamped right now, but if you go back to that meeting where they did a presentation in the work session of a projection, and I know none of y'all are here because it's been a change of, but.
We can pull that out of the record. I think my only point was that we keep talking about this huge savings that the previous manager said we were going to get, and then we keep talking about a misunderstanding that he may have misinformed you, or you thought that this would always be $1,400 out to eternity.
It's not clear.
And it's not clear.
And I think that
it's
was.
the same individual that he's referring to that say we would have these savings. So didn't want to put you on the spot, just want to make sure we keep talking about this huge savings that, and you're saying.
It's not huge, but it's.
But the savings wasn't actual dollars from our bottom line. It was saving us. It was almost like
future money.
Well, no, it was just saying that for them not being on our policy, we're capping that at a point. You follow me?
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, thank you very much for waiting, man.
It wasn't actually money. It was.
You get an extra second.
A second, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor,
I'll ask you a question. I'll let you get it.
Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Melissa Peel, and I'm the founding director of Fern Foundation of Virginia in the city of Portsmouth, and I reside in the Churchland area of Portsmouth. First of all, thank you for your service to the city of Portsmouth. I came tonight just to introduce Fern Foundation of Virginia. We are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that helps single mothers 18 to 35 and their children in the city of Portsmouth. We provide short-term transitional housing, case management, and some life skill services. As you know, single parents and children are amongst the poorest in the nation, and 1 out of 5 children live in poverty. And so we seek to be a solution to that problem in the city of Portsmouth, Hampton, and the adjoining cities. I wanted to take the time tonight to let you know that we opened our doors in June of last year to single mothers and children in the city of Portsmouth, and I also wanted to extend an invitation to you all to our second annual fundraising gala that's going to be held on Friday, November the 4th, here in the city of Portsmouth in the Edmonds Center. And so we are definitely looking to invite the citizens of Portsmouth as well as city council members to our gala, as we hope to be a solution to single mothers and their children in the cities of Portsmouth and the surrounding cities. So thank you for this time, and hope to see you out on that evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for what you do. Mr. Cherry?
First, for full disclosure, Ms. Peel is a distant cousin of mine. But it is a great program, and I had the opportunity to see them in action the first year and to attend the gala last year that they had in Hampton, and it was a great event. So thank you for what you do for Portsmouth, and she's a Bertie County native. Bertie's doing well. Thank you.
Bertie.
And I'll be there in attendance. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Charlotte Scott, and she's followed by Ms. Sheila Joseph.
Smile ain't that bad. You only got this more.
Good evening, council and residents. My name is Charlotte Scott. I've been here before. I'm here once again. I'm a former resident of Portsmouth. In other words, I grew up in Portsmouth. I now reside in Western Branch section of Chesapeake, but my heart is in Portsmouth, and I hate to see what I see when I go down within the city, where Southside Portsmouth, Hope Village, a contaminated site where you have housed young women and children and call it Hope on a contaminated site. I have correspondences I've received from agencies, mother to baby. That's a genocide that's happening down there. Any mother that's exposed to the lead contamination to whatever level it is or has ever been exposed to it will pass it on to their children. And their children will pass it on to their children. And their children will pass it on to their children. 25 years ago, responsible parties were deemed for the contamination. The City of Portsmouth, Pneumo Abex, Norfolk Naval Shipyard Portsmouth, HUD, Portsmouth Health Department, and several others. I'm not satisfied with the progress that has been being made in the last 25 years that in respect to the environmental health of those residents in that community, those communities, its sources, or the effects on the lives of the residents in those communities. Also, 25 years ago, the City of Portsmouth was required to upgrade its storm drain system. And at that time, Portsmouth levied a tax on the residents that they've been collecting for 25 years, and no new storm drain. I only have 17 seconds, 15, 14. But what I want to say is 5,000 people live in that community from Elm Avenue over to 1st Street, from Portsmouth Boulevard all the way up to South. All of that needs to be levied. It's only good for parking. You need to level all of that down, turn it into a paid parking lot for the shipyard workers. They've been parking there since I was a child, all in my yard.
Thank you. Good night.
You need to levy that.
Ms. Sheila Joseph is followed by Mr. Earl Thompson.
Hello.
Sir, excuse me, Ms. Sheila Joseph, is she not here?
No. All right.
Sir, Ms. Joseph is supposed to speak prior to you.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, come on, Mr. Jones.
I'm sorry.
Bring it on up.
Hello again. I just wanted to say that earlier they spoke about the cleaning out the pipe, but my whole conversation was not the stop-up pipe, but the ditch problem that no one seemed to come out yet, except for Mr. Youssef and some other people came, as I said, the last meeting on the 11th, that they dig a little bit each time I complain, but nothing, is being addressed. And I'm told that it's out of their hand beyond the ditch. So I'm asking, whose hands should it be in when it damaged my home completely downstairs when I said that you don't have a drain on my street? My home was built in 1954, but it never been flooded like it have been this time. This time it flooded my whole complete downstairs, and I spent money over and over. I keep saying it. Every time I complain, I'm being flooded because of the weather. But my insurance tell me wind water, it's not covered, the wind blow all the water in and all of that. But from Hanson and Grand Street, it blows that way to me on one side, and from Grand and Hanson blowing to me to the other. So I'm surrounded by water being blown for whatever reason, and all the people on the other side of me, they have a drain, but I don't. And I was talking to Mr. Youssef about why y'all can't put a drain on my side. I see how low the drain is into the ground on the other side, and they said, well, we're going to look out and do some things. But I would like to know, what do you do when the city of Portsmouth don't have no sidewalk, no drain, and all the water, even when you don't even have a hurricane, you got a lot of water coming like a pond in my yard. And I remember I have times before I had all this rain. We used to didn't have all that problem for many years. It's been in my family 62 years, but I've been there back living for 26 years. And out of the 26 years on and off, I'm complaining and videoing, taking pictures, but I never came to you all until this year. It's because it's overwhelming that my whole house is completely, probably end up being condemned, because water's all around and it's cracking, Every time I have a bad weather, something always bad happening to my home because everybody else got a drain. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Joseph, let me just say, this is, we went out and this is where we discovered the drainage was clogged up, the pipes were. Okay, and we cleared that out. And you're addressing an additional issue than the line being, let me finish.
All in the beginning.
I understand. They said the line was clogged up, which would have caused water not to flow, which would have caused standing water.
That's not true.
Okay.
What
Tell
I'm
me.
saying, before that pipe was clogged up, without it being clogged up, it's a problem. When it's not deep. It's not a ditch. It's like a little thing that you could just take a child foot and put in it. But on the other side, you got a little more deeper. So they came and scraped it a little bit on one end, and then farther towards the ditch in the back, they made it a little deeper. But I heard someone say, we got the proper tools, why we don't bring the proper tools here and get this job done right? And the person that's under the person that he was talking to, he called him aside, so I couldn't hear what he had to say. So I don't know all the details, but I'm saying if you have tools, why not use it and get it done right? So that some of that water won't be coming up in my yard. I mean, it's so bad.
Yeah, I heard you.
It's a pond I'm walking in.
The ditch is not.
It's not really a ditch.
It's not really a ditch.
Not really.
But it's not consistent throughout. We'll take another look at that. Thank you for coming.
And I'm
up.
not a professional, but it's curvy.
Understand. I wanted to just clarify what your point was.
I asked Mr. Cherry, or would you please come and look and see what I'm dealing with, and just check it out.
Yes, ma'am. I'll come by your house before the week's out.
And view my videotapes and pictures. How about that?
Thanks, Ms. Joseph.
Mr. Earl Thompson, and he's followed by our final speaker, Mr. Jack Neely.
All right, we're going to try this again.
Yes,
Hello,
sir.
Mayor,
How
Vice
you doing?
Mayor, City Council. My name is Earl Thompson. I live in Cottage Place. Pleasure to finally meet everyone that I've already spoken with. Right now, at this point in time, I would like to point out Mr. Youssef Khalil. I appreciate him coming out to our property, taking the time out to look at everything. His assessment, his evaluation, I really do appreciate it, but it wasn't a help or a hindrance after the factor. He left, it was over with. I would also like to point out Dr. Patton. Thank you so much for driving by and bringing the remainder of the firm or whoever you brought out with you. It was well appreciated. And also, Mr. Moody, thank you for the emails and the countless number of times that we've communicated with one another. I really do appreciate you taking the time out. At this point in time, I would like the residents for the Liverpool, Jamestown, Queen Street, and also Constitution Avenue, if you are here, please stand at this time.
Okay.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. At this point in time, the residency that you're seeing, there's 4 people that live on the entire block. The diagram that I've given you is simply something that you can review on your off time. It's just pointing out simple items. I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time. You have enough on your hands as is. Pardon me? All right. Initially, it was a still water issue. Right now, it's a pocket of water, just like we were discussing earlier, and I'm sure everyone is aware of it. Right now, it's about $4,000 worth of damage to my home and also my neighbor's home. And also, there's a 350-foot tree that the root is deadening. It's a possibility that it could either fall on my home, his home, the church, or the 83-year-old woman that lives on the other side of me. In walking around my community, I've noticed that there are abandoned houses one that was condemned, and I thank you, Dr. Patton, for taking care of that or delegating or doing whatever you did to get that building off of the block and the house that's behind it. There are 8 children that live in my residency in that area, and I really appreciate those children. They walk around, and instead of them creating havoc, they sit there and they ask you, hey, can I rake your lawn for you? Can I do this? They walk around the community. They're trying to do something with themselves. Now, of course, the still water issue, of course, is the first thing, but our neighborhood just needs to be looked at. I need somebody to come out and just simply do another site surveil. How could you build 2 brand new homes and then let water pocket in the back where it's 3 to 4 feet of water running directly into the crawl space? All we're asking for is for somebody to come out and do a site surveil. And once again, before I close out, Dr. Patton, thank you so much for everything that you've done. I would appreciate it if you can just continue to follow up with me. We're going to get this neighborhood up and running. I know it.
Mr. Thompson, let me just ask, in your diagram here, where you've got the still water of 3 to 4 foot, that's in the back of these homes?
Yes.
And your backyard bumps up to the house and the property that's here on Queen Street?
Right, from the church parking lot all the way to the end of Constitution Avenue, that water pockets the entire region, just simply pockets and swells. Right.
Does it always do that, or is this just a result of Matthew?
No. Matthew, Nor'easter, come to find out, Nor'easter and Isabel, when it happened, what ended up happening is the resident that's behind us in 2008, during the daytime, her son lives somewhere else. He comes over there with a suction, a makeshift jerry-rigged suction, and suctions the water out into the church parking lot, which 10 years ago he got approved by the church and the clergy, but of course the church is for sale, and of course the church, which is a wonderful building, looks great, immaculate. The gutters filled with plants, it's not filtering, they've got busted pipes. I've tried to contact, I gave a letter of notice to 2008 residents. I left a letter for the clergy member. Of course, the church is for sale. I've spoken with the real estate. The real estate asked them to get in touch with the church clergy or the builders or anyone that resides over the church. No communication whatsoever.
Okay.
It's just,
okay.
That area has the possibility for 4, 5, 6 brand new homes in that area. It's a brand new business, SMK businesses.
Okay, I get it. Thank you. Madam Manager, we've gone out and looked and surveyed this.
Yes, Mayor.
What are we dealing with here?
What you can see. The issue which Mr. Thompson's calling your attention, this is private property. This is his property, but there is a deep swell owned by these property owners, which is their backyard, which abuts his backyard. So this, as we've met with him and talked to him, and he's made some inroads to try to communicate here with these property owners to address what's impacting them. Other areas of which he's called to our attention, which we can take responsibility for, we have handled.
But even on the private property, what is our role if they refuse to, is it a grading issue?
This is private property. I mean,
it's
it's a deep swell, and the property was bought with almost like a.
Yeah, I'm just asking
it's hard to say,
somebody
just
for,
deep.
My apologies.
That's the woman's yard.
Okay.
Almost like she could put a pool back there. It's just the slump of the land. And it is like a pool.
Yes.
It fills up with water.
Yep.
But yeah, go ahead. I guess I'm trying to get to the fix.
2005.
So they just built your house?
Yes.
So we are
What's the
working
flood?
with them
Okay. I guess it'd be a question for Bob.
A4.
What's the Mr. Baldwin? What's the flood level over there? I know that.
Yeah, I don't have that information.
It's A4 zoning.
A4 zoning.
And it's the highest flood. And actually, my flood insurance is, if this issue isn't addressed, my flood insurance is gonna drop. It's gonna drop my neighbor. We lose power to our house, same exact rooms.
Okay, we got the diagram. Thank you. Appreciate you coming up, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Excellent presentation, and thank you for thanking everybody, even though you haven't got your problem resolved. That's a huge step forward. Yeah, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Jack Neely. And Mr. Neely is our final speaker.
The water impact, your water cannot impact, hold on. Can I ask Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and my fellow residents. I'm Jack Neely of the historic area of Craddock, and my concern is tonight, I often travel to Churchland via Frederick Boulevard. And anytime that it rains, Frederick Boulevard floods. How about an alternate, when we have heavy rains, perhaps Frederick Boulevard could be closed, or some alternate signs about how we can travel safely during bad weather. I'll turn 70 this Sunday.
Oh, happy birthday.
And I don't travel well during darkness and bad weather. Could you do something about that?
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Neely, for coming up, and Dr. Edmonds?
Thank you, Mr. Neely. I just want to say a closing remark, Mayor.
Oh, okay. Nothing addressing
No,
Mr. Neely. Okay, thank you, sir, and we'll look into that. Frederick Boulevard has been an issue for years, and again, the flooding is a product of not only rain, but high tide and drainage throughout the system. I don't know if you were able to watch last week's or last meeting's video where we had our engineer that went through great detail on how the water drains and runs off throughout our city, whether it's going to Scotch Creek or back over by, what was that, by the Gus Lane. But we hear you. Thank you for raising the concern, and I don't know where we can go with that, but thank you, Mr. Neely. All right. Yeah, Dr. Edmonds.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to take a moment to share and bring back to some a place where I think we need to be, is the fact that we have to have tough skins if you're set up here. We have to swallow things that sometimes we don't always like. We can disagree, but not be in a disagreeable spirit. And I think our city will take heed from how we respond in regards to how people shoot at us. I've enjoyed my years on city council. I've learned a lot. God knows I've learned to pray more. And when the people that come to speak before us, some come angry, mad, indifferent, whatever it might be. But the more they put us down, the more we ought to rise up. And I think we ought to showcase that kind of unity, even if we disagree with each other. I think we need to be genuine. I think we need to be for real. And I think we need to interact the way that most of us were taught, do unto others. I'm not going to preach, as we would have them do unto us. I think that's quintessential, and we can't say that's for certain moments. That's for all moments. As far as listening to some of the things that were discussed, such as the PRHA, it was a tragedy that group that's there on the board did to Mr. Short what they did. That was terrible. It shouldn't have happened. We need to look at somewhere in our line of journey of how to bring some controls over that, because apparently we don't have that much. And just to throw a stone for a stone and hire somebody and then fire somebody for and not liking somebody for what they've done wrong, I think we need to reassess that. I think we need to be more kind-hearted in that regard and make sure that we don't wait until the midnight hour to try to help somebody out of who's been disgraced like he has. Other thing is the flooding of the Swanson home. Everybody was concerned about that, not just the ones that came up to talk, and some talked a little trashy. Everybody was concerned about that, and everybody was doing the best that they could to fix it, and got it fixed. But we just got to learn to, listen to what people got to present to us, and be mindful that this is one great city. But when we come into mess every once in a while like this, it becomes breaking news. And anytime breaking news comes in, it's nothing to celebrate. It's always something derogatory. And most of the time it's pumped up by us bantering with each other. It is my prayer and my hope that our city come together as a team, together everybody achieving much. Tell us what needs to be done, and if it's within our power and our authority, I know that this council will try to get it done. We have a good council. We're not perfect, and just because some new ones will be coming in, they're not perfect either. You can find flaws if you look for them, but find the goodness. Celebrate with us the things that we've accomplished and what we've done. Sometimes that's so neglected that it seems as though we're doing nothing but fussing. So it is my prayer that we pray that we'll do better than we've been doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Edmonds, and well said. It has been a pleasure. I know this isn't your last meeting, but you just made it sound like it. You've got two more. You and Mr. Meeks are counting down, I understand. But thank you very much. Mr. Meeks, yes, sir.
Mayor, thank you very much. I just want to touch on one thing with the Swanson homes. When Dr. Whitaker touched on the families passing away because of the gas, those hot water heaters that they're installing, that they don't have hot water right now, it's because they put a special, very expensive hot water heater in there. I don't want you to think that, we're letting them down again. The housing authority spent a lot of money. I mean, it was millions of dollars to put those hot water heaters in every one of those houses so nobody else would die through the gas, the fumes. So I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons been the hold up of getting the hot water turned on. I think everybody on this council, it is a concern. I mean, we go at each other, but look, we signed up to take every 96,000 people's concerns and considerations, and except Donna, I don't take, I'm just playing Donna, but that's what we signed up for. And I mean, we get in fights because, not fights, but arguments back and forth, but we have the best intentions for everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that because, again, the issues that they're experiencing there, we want to make sure that we get a post briefing of what happened and what are best practices. But you're right, one of these things spurned from some previous episode which caused you to be here. And now that they're here, they have to assess what is it, whatever these special parts that they need and the availability of those parts. I sat last week with the governor and the other mayors in the emergency management briefing from the state, and everyone was caught flat-footed because the forecast was we were only going to get about 3 or 4 inches of rain. And about 6 o'clock that evening, the storm shift. The state even mentioned it. Secretary Moran had mentioned that they had already dispersed all of the state employees had gone home because no one expected anything other than 3 or 4 inches of rain. Well, we got 10 here in Portsmouth. Virginia Beach got about 17 inches. And to listen to each one of the cities and the damage that was done at that earlier stage was devastating. And so we're always being presented with challenges. And as Dr. Edmonds, as well as Mr. Meeks just said, it's our job to get our arms around those and work as diligently as we can and make sure that whatever we do, we make it better for the future. And so I'm a little leery with criticizing the actions of those heaters, because I would like to yank them all out as well. But I'm sure there was some history behind the units that they have there and the measures that was taken from the gas episode. And so, I mean, that's why we need to be cautious, and I normally don't say much until someone on council or someone comes up here and make irresponsible comments to the public, because that's damaging when people are concerned and people are in need and people are looking for help. The last thing they need is politicians and others grandstanding and playing politics, because again, we are not about that in this city. We give here until it hurts. This city last year was deemed, in this region, the most giving city in Hampton Roads, and we're one of the poorest. Wonder why? It's because of our people, and they care about each other and we care about each other. So we should not let episodes of things that happen in a one-off situation dictate what we're doing and how we move forward. We use those things to help going forward in the future. And so I don't know, were you able to talk with anybody with the Housing Authority and see where we were?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I talked with Doug Smith and Mr.
That's our building official.
He's
Okay.
the city's building official, and Mr. Meeks is correct. The water heaters have a certain circuit board that were overnighted when I told you they were coming in. They were, as I indicated to you, they replaced them, but then booting them up, some of them that were booted up went back out, and they have ordered, as of today, to overnight. They will be back out there tomorrow, our team, and he said, Dr. Patton, they are responding to what we are asking them to do. But the hot water heater is not just an ordinary hot water heater, and he made that clear, that it's a special circuit board that is being placed in them, but he's saying they were gonna get there, so I'll keep you all posted.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
Now, were we able to make contact with anyone from the Housing Authority as far as the 30 families?
I did not call Mrs. Brown, but I asked Mr. Smith whether or not, none of the buildings have been condemned by the building official.
Okay.
None have not, because they are cleaning them and they are being approved. So that is a fact.
Okay. And one of the speakers made a valid point, whether it's law or not, nobody wants to live without hot water or heat, especially during these times. So we want to make sure we're taking all the necessary actions and making sure that we're interfacing with the Housing Authority and making sure that those folks, those families are put somewhere until this matter is resolved.
And I am in communication with Mrs. Brown.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
sir.
Anything else for the good of the meeting? All right. We're adjourned. Good night. Thank you.